I didn't deserve this. But it's me who has to pay for other people's mistakes. Subscribe to the channel quickly, and I, Donna, will tell you a story about how loved ones betray. My dad is a very successful businessman, and now I am the only heir to a large fashion empire. The surname Hall is associated only with success and big money. For my 16th birthday, my dad gave me a luxurious gift. The release of a new model of the women's bag Donna was announced. A huge advertising campaign has been launched. In the first 3 days, these bags disappeared from the boutique windows, and those who wanted to purchase them signed up for a queue. This phenomenon has not gone unnoticed in the fashion world, and overnight, Donna Hall turned into a fashion icon. 2 million people followed my Instagram account overnight. And suddenly, I became the idol of golden youth. Yes, this is cool, friend. I don't understand why you're so worried. My best friend Phoebe thoughtfully stirred her coffee. Enjoy the glory. Live for your own pleasure. Somehow, Phoebe knew a lot about pleasure. While her parents flew to Paris for the weekend, Phoebe threw a party at home. So noisy that the neighbors called the police. Then, house arrest for a week. The only thing she begged from her mother was to see me at Edam's, our favorite restaurant.
Here comes my popular girl.
Skylar kissed me on the cheek. We dated for a couple of weeks. We met at a party. Phoebe brought us together. I wasn't really hoping for this relationship. Skylar was very flighty, constantly hanging out in clubs with friends. It was useless to call or write to him in the evening. He answered only the next day in a hoarse, sleepy voice. Sometimes I joked that Skylar should date Phoebe. They would be an explosive couple. But after I became popular, Skylar's attitude changed. He began to take me with him to his nightly parties more often. He was flattered to be the boyfriend of such a popular person. One day, the three of us had dinner. Me, Skylar, and Phoebe at the same Edam's. And I told them that company of my dad was looking for new faces for the spring collection of our clothing brand. Both boys and girls are needed. Skylar perked up.
Marmalade, can you put in a good word for me? I want to become the face of your brand.
You're not a model, Skylar. And this is not entertainment. A multi-million-dollar contract, constant filming, and responsibility are at stake. We need a professional here. Where are you? And where is the responsibility? I patted him on the cheek. Skylar frowned but didn't say anything to me. Everything is clear with Skylar, but why didn't you give me this mega popular bag that all the girls are after? Phoebe, you know, every bag there has its own serial number. After a complete sellout in 3 days, each one is now made to order. Sign up for the queue. Phoebe pouted. I later remembered this moment many times. They wanted to use me, my connections, but I didn't understand this. I have dinner with my dad today. We are discussing the upcoming party. We've sold our 1,000 Donna bag. That's a reason to celebrate. A party on a yacht for the inner circle. Several of the most famous publications have been invited. They want to record an interview with me. Plus, a photo shoot. Dad handed me 2 invitations. Take someone with you so you don't get bored. Phoebe and Skylar are jumping up and down when they found out they were going to be at the party. The party was a great success. Dad was talking to investors. I talked to journalists. Of course, PR people especially prepared me for this for several days, so I felt very confident. While I was posing for photographers on the deck, Skylar and Phoebe were whispering about something in the far corner. I even caught Phoebe looking at me, and there was so much envy in it. Or maybe it just seemed to me. By the evening, when it was already well dark, my head was cracking from fatigue. The yacht was moored near the shore. Almost everyone left.
You are very smart, Donna.
Dad hugged me.
Everyone was delighted today. I am glad that I have such a smart and beautiful daughter. It's time for me to have more negotiations with foreign partners via Zoom. And don't be late.
Dad nodded to Phoebe and Skylar. It's already late. And indeed, there was no one else on the yacht except the 3 of us. I wanted to go home, fall on the sofa, and fall asleep.
I suggest we go for a little ride,
Skylar whispered in my ear. And Phoebe was already starting the engine. No, guys, it's already dark. Don't whine, Donna. Give us some of your precious attention. Let's have fun. And then the yacht took off. I could barely stay on my feet. Phoebe and Skylar grabbed each other's helm, laughed, and shouted something. I saw an empty champagne bottle near Phoebe's feet. It's clear why they are having so much fun. Guys, don't drive! But they didn't hear me. And a minute later, a terrible grinding sound deafened me. Hit! I was thrown back. And the last thing I remembered was cold water and insane pain in my back. It's difficult to talk yet. The blow was serious. I opened my eyes. Dad wipes away his tears. I'm in the hospital. It turned out that the yacht hit the coastal rocks. I hit the side and flew into the water. Back injured. I can't feel my legs. 2 weeks later, I was already at home. The scratches on my body had healed, but the soul ached. Neither Phoebe nor Skylar ever visited me, but they are the people closest to me. Dad persuaded me to take myself shopping today. I looked for some sandals in one of my favorite boutiques. And then I saw Phoebe and Skylar. They also went into the store. Phoebe froze near the bright dress in the window, and Skylar suddenly hugged her around the waist? Can't be. Phoebe, Skylar, hello. I couldn't stand it. They were clearly not ready to see me, but there was no time to go. Phoebe smiled wryly. Have you decided to go shopping? The wardrobe is already bursting. I didn't expect such cynicism from my friend. I see that now you are more than friends. Skylar lowered his eyes, but Phoebe looked at me defiantly. Yes, Skylar and I became close during this time. But you couldn't find time to visit their friend. And why do you need Donna, who refused to give one expensive branded bag and pushed the other one through at the casting? My now former friends were silent. I rolled the wheelchair out from behind the sofa and sat in it one fell swoop. Yes, I couldn't move. After that blow, the legs were immobilized, but the doctors were optimistic, and me too. I can learn to walk. But how to trust people? No rehabilitatologist can help here. If you have any advice, write it in the comments. Thank you.
It's already late at night, but I can't sleep. It's scary to be alone in a big house. Mom's filming late again. And she asked her not to wait. I'm not waiting. I don't remember the last time my mother kissed me goodnight. She has work, rehearsals, and I, as she says, already big. I can cook dinner for myself and go to bed. By the way, my name is Cora, and I hate being at home by myself. I hang out late on social media networks. I watch series just to switch off, but getting up for school in the morning is a big problem. But who cares? Mom worries through the roof. Now she spends all day sitting at auditions. She is a producer and is now recruiting young talents for a new pop group. Mom is madly in love with her work. She gets very tired, but she gets high from it. She is trying to compensate me for the lack of her attention through other goodies. For example, we have a huge house, a bunch of servants who cater to my every whim, an almost unlimited credit card in my name. But that's no longer fun. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll climb back into the social nets. Maybe it will distract from sad thoughts. What do we have here? Phoebe posted a photo in a nightclub. She invited me too, but I don't like these parties. Dora made her lips, well, quite well. But is this surprising now? Suddenly, a message popped up in my chats. Who is this? Hello, can't sleep? Still nothing to do. Who are you? I answered, ready to block the correspondence at any time. Usually they begin to write all sorts of nasty things or breed for money. And I immediately send these to the ban. The avatar had a photo of a girl, about the same age as me. Perky eyes, but stop. There are a lot of such pictures on the internet. Download, install on the avatar, no problem. I'm Naomi. I cannot fall asleep. I know that you were online and wrote, would you like to watch a movie together? I revived. Is it like watching a movie together? Without waiting for my answer, a link to Netflix appeared in my chat. Funny. Do you have popcorn? If you like it, we can discuss it later. I smiled at the message and went to make popcorn in the microwave. After a couple of minutes, she sent a photo with ready-made popcorn to the chat. In response, she received a photo with likes in multicolored socks on the couch, and Naomi and I started watching the movie. In fact, I fell asleep in the middle and woke up the next day at lunchtime. I looked at the phone. Naomi did not write anything. But then a message came. I fell asleep yesterday. The film was so-so. Cora, do you sleep until noon again? Mom suddenly entered the room. Let's have breakfast together. I have not seen you for a long time. And who is to blame? Auditions are more important than your own daughter. Usually, this is where our short dialogues ended. Mom slammed the door loudly, and a minute later, I heard her coming down to the first floor. I hate her. So Naomi wrote about it in the chat, and she sent a smiley face and replied that she had the same problem with her parents, and they do not understand her. They try to control instead of just trusting. Naomi seemed to be talking about me. Every word she said made me feel better. We chatted for probably an hour, and I had a feeling that I have known this girl for ages. Let's meet, I suddenly suggested, and myself was taken back. I've only known this girl for one day. Why such courage? I didn't recognize myself. Naomi agreed. I sent her a geolocation. It was a small cafe where they cooked very tasty lasagna. An hour later, I was already sitting there, waiting for Naomi. But 15 minutes passed, half an hour, and she did not appear. And she didn't respond to messages. I was angry at the whole wide world. Naive, decided to get in touch, and here's to you. When I entered the chat to delete Naomi's contact, I suddenly received an audio message from her. A gently velvety voice begged for forgiveness. Naomi, almost sobbing, whispered that she had quarreled with her father, and he put her under house arrest for 3 weeks. I felt so sorry for her. Previously, my mother often did the same thing with me, until one day I took revenge on her by swallowing sleeping pills. I was accidentally found in the dressing room by the cleaning lady. Then an ambulance, gastric lavage, droppers, mother's tears. For a whole week she rushed about with me. Even took a vacation. And she took me to a psychologist. We had several sessions together, where my mother admitted that she could not cope with me. After that, I visited a psychologist twice a week for a whole year. A nanny was assigned to me, who watched my every step. Mom was afraid that I would not swallow drugs again. It was worse than prison. But there was nothing I could do. Until I am 18, I am under the complete control of my mother. Just over a year left. But with the advent of Naomi in my life, everything became bearable. Throughout the week under house arrest, she was very supportive of me. With her kick, I went to school because Naomi convinced me that you don't have to close yourself and carry everything in yourself. A change of scenery will help. She also advised me to add physical activity and gave me the contacts of a fitness trainer. A very nice girl wrote me a training schedule, and 3 times a week, I started working out with her. My insomnia and anxiety are gone. I was counting the days when Naomi's house arrest would end. We constantly corresponded and exchanged voice messages. Calling Naomi was uncomfortable. She wrote that the walls have ears. I agreed with her. I threw her a photo of how my body changes after training and proper nutrition. And she showed me her new manicure. Thanks to Naomi's support, I was even able to have a normal conversation with my mom. Not that we became best friends, but we discussed all the poignant moments. Mom promised once a week to devote a whole day to me and our girlish affairs. We even hugged after the conversation. I already wanted to see Naomi. Hold her tight and don't let go. She has done so much for me in 3 weeks. We started planning our meeting. I wanted no one to interfere with us. Naomi, come with me. I'll let the servants go. My mom will be gone. You and I will cook a bucket of popcorn and go to watch some movie. Do you remember? That's how we started talking. But Naomi delayed the meeting. Either she has a visit to the dentist or her cousin came for a couple of days. A week later, I freaked out. If you don't want to see me, say so. I will not impose. I wrote. Naomi was silent. 2 days have passed. I had the feeling that I was sliding down a hill mountain straight into the abyss. Why doesn't she want to see me? It turns out that nobody needs me. I didn't care anymore. I ran to my mother's bedroom and, opening the night drawer, poured a handful of pills into my hand. I took a picture and threw it into the chat, writing, "Goodbye." I sat down on the bed and sobbed. I did not want to swallow these drugs, honestly, but I wanted to pay attention to Naomi. For her to see how much suffering she has caused me. Eyes swollen with tears. Suddenly, I heard the doorbell go off. Then someone started knocking loudly on the door. Forgetting my intentions, I ran quickly downstairs. Now the door will be taken out simply. I abruptly opened the door. A young man stood in the doorway. He was terribly excited. His hands were clenched into fists and his teeth chattered loudly.
Phew. Are you alive? I made it.
And he hugged me tightly. After a couple of seconds, my shock passed. I pushed the guy away. I'll call the police now. Who are you? How do you know me?
Cora, we've been chatting with you for a long time. Naomi, or rather, I'm Noah.
I wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. I was deceived. There is no Naomi. I don't have a girlfriend. Go away!
Cora, I didn't know what to think, but I really wanted to talk to you. I wanted to help you. I see how bad you are.
I looked at the guy suspiciously.
I practiced with a psychologist, to whom you went for consultations for a year. I saw you somehow, and something clicked inside. You were so miserable and lost. Those glassy eyes. My sister had these, and she couldn't deal with her depression.
Noah's voice cracked.
I really wanted to help you. Yes, I violated medical ethics, found out who you are, and wrote to you.
Now much has become clear. Why Naomi couldn't talk to me on the phone? Why couldn't we meet? Everything was a hoax. Avatar, voice. Noah didn't leave that evening. He told me about his sister, about the horror that his family had to endure. Why did he decide to become a psychologist and help people? And I forgave the deception with Naomi. The guy was so sincere with me, and I decided not to push him away. We are talking. It's difficult because I haven't been friends with the guys yet, but very interesting. Sometimes it seems to me that this is no longer just friendship. Do you think that after everything that has happened, there can be something more than friendship between us? I'm interested in your opinion. Waiting for a comment and a like for my story. Hi, I'm Rachel, and I want to be popular at school. How else? Everything depends on your level of popularity. Will your classmates greet you, make friends? At what table in the dining room can you sit? And where will you ride on the school bus? The higher the rating, the cooler you are.
Stop! Watch where you're going! I could have hit you!
Suddenly, a cyclist braked right in front of my nose. Because of my thoughts, I was completely lost and began to cross the road without even looking around. Sorry, I didn't mean to, I mumbled. The guy was a little older than me, and judging by the clothes and the big backpack on his back, he worked in a delivery service. For a couple of seconds, the guy looked at me with interest, and then, looking at his watch, he jumped on the spot.
Crap! I'm late! Need help! Give me a call! And be careful! What is your name?
He was already shouting on the move, turning the corner. Rachel! I shouted, but the guy has already disappeared. He is a strange one. Hiding the business card that he just handed me hastily, I walked further to the school. What was I talking about? Popularity. As you already understood, if I talk about it so much, then my popularity level is below 0. And it is true. I tried different ways to fix it. At first, I decided to become a cheerleader. But at the first exam in the level of physical fitness, I failed miserably. Hanging out with a group of fashionistas was not all affordable for me. Every day I had to come to school in a new outfit, the cost of which was equal to my mother's weekly salary. I am silent about intellectuals. I survived only one meeting of their business club, and then I fell asleep in the middle. Of course, there is still the cream of society, the coolest guys in our school. But there is definitely no way for me to go there. There are only the richest, coolest, most desperate guys. And in order to get into this company, you have to pass more than one test. And not everyone can cope with it. And they were turned on by George. Quite a sassy guy who uses his charm to the fullest. I don't argue. He is an unreal handsome man. And every girl at school dreams of dating him. And even I. But I clearly understood that George would definitely not look in my direction. But somehow, a case turned up that changed a lot. For now, subscribe to the channel and please click on the bell. And I will tell everything in colors. My parents wanted to arrange a weekend for themselves. And now they announced to me that this weekend, I will stay at home alone. Wow, this was my chance. I decided to organize a small party, just for my closest friends. and I have very few of them. But in order to at least reach the status of a girl to hang out with, I took a chance and called some of the most active girls from the class. I didn't see much excitement in their eyes. Only the information that the house will be at our complete disposal all night cheered them up a little. Scrolling through my head about what I need to buy for the party and if I have enough savings for this, I almost ran into George.
Hi, I heard you're throwing the party of the year tomorrow. Am I on the guest list?
George grinned. Wow, how quickly rumors spread.
Whoa, have you swallowed your tongue?
Of course, come. George nodded smugly and already on the move. As if, by the way, he said, I'll take a couple of friends with me, okay? In principle, my answer was not important to him. Well, I wanted to jump from happiness. George at my party? Yes, the whole school will make noise about it. But the evening of the next day, everything was ready. I cleaned the house, bought various sweets and cola. According to my calculations, 10 people should have come. Well, maximum 12. After all, George wanted to take one of his friends. By 7, a company of girls pulled up. They stuck together, whispered, but I didn't care. They are at my party. I turned on the music, put popcorn, snacks on the table, when suddenly there was a knock on the door so loud that we all jumped together. George was standing in the doorway with big speakers blasting crazy music.
Hey, and here we are.
George unceremoniously pushed me away and stepped aside. And behind him stretched a whole string of noisy guys. Not 2, not 3, but a crowd. I asked to roll the music, as the windows in the house had already begun to rung, but no one heard me. The guys kept coming and coming. I was horrified to see what kind of drinks they bring with them. My parents would definitely not approve of this. Half an hour later, my recently neat and clean house looked like a dump. The guys, most of whom I didn't know at all, behaved terribly. They danced on the table, dumped in their boots on the couch, swam dressed in the pool, played golf in the living room. From this madhouse, I have already started to have a headache. I really felt bad when I saw that my mother's favorite Venetian crystal vase was smashed to smithereens. And the curtains! Those were very expensive curtains from Italy. Bought last month, are torn and some guy is riding on them. I was horrified. The doorbell rang, and then there was a persistent knock. It was Mrs. Bedford's neighbor. She was beside herself with anger. It's late at night, and here it is. They threatened to call the police if we didn't calm down. I promised her I'd fixed everything. Barely finding George in this crazy crowd, I asked him to help me stop everything.
No, dear. You wanted a party, so get it. Relax and have fun.
George brushed me off like a pesky fly. Yes, I was not ready for this. And what to do? I sat down in a corner and sobbed. Maybe I should call my parents. I started pulling out my cell phone and suddenly saw a business card. Oh yeah! The delivery guy handed it to me. How did he say? Need help? Call? That doesn't sound right. But a second later, I dialed his phone number. Martin, so it was indicated on the business card. And about a miracle, he answered right away. Quickly explaining myself, I realized that Martin would rush in now. Really? What a delivery guy can do to a bunch of these crazy creatures. And 10 minutes later, I heard the siren of the police car. My stomach froze. A neighbor called the police. Now I'm gone. Many of my intruders also heard the sirens and saw the police car parked on the lawn, and some immediately fled through the back door. But the most daring continued to have fun. The front door slammed open. A policeman stood in the doorway, glaring menacingly around.
You got a complaint. Nobody come out.
There was no need to say anything else. My house was empty in a minute. The frightened crowd skipped across the yards. Only the heels gleamed. Somewhere ahead, I saw George. Yeah, where did his pomposity go? Thank you, officer. I started warily.
Hey, Rachel. I did not recognize.
Martin? The police officer turned out to be the same guy from the delivery. Are you a policeman? Martin laughed in response. No, this is my older brother's uniform. And his car. I thought that you definitely don't need problems with the police, but you also need to disperse this menagerie. You saved me, Martin. I am now in your debt. Glancing at the mess in the house, Martin winked at me. Wait a second to think. We still need to put things in order here. Martin and I cleaned all night. Of course, it was impossible to hide the torn curtains and the broken vase from the parents. I was expecting a harsh reprimand and house arrest, and I also had to get a part-time job in a pizzeria to pay for all the damage. But I didn't complain. Everything is fair, and you must answer for your mistakes. At school, George came up the next day and even tried to apologize. Like, you're a cool girl, Rachel, blah blah blah, but with parties, it's always like that. Believe it or not, but I told him to go to hell, so that everyone who ran through the school corridor at that time could hear. George went nuts, and I raised my personal level of self-esteem. They began to greet me more actively at school. So this is how you can become popular. It's funny. But now I didn't care much. Seems I fell in love. The moment the guy on the bike nearly hit me, and then rushed to the rescue on my first call. And then he came to the pizzeria, where I worked part-time and made me laugh when I was insanely tired. A chance acquaintance with this boy had changed a lot in me over the past 2 months. I stopped looking at others, equaling someone. I realized that I can be interesting too, and cheerful and cool, and there is a person who does not care about all these ratings, but it is me who is important. I'll tell you a secret. Tomorrow, Martin and I have a real date. My house arrest is over, and I'm free. Now I will live as I want, communicate with whom I want. Does not matter what they think about it at school. This is true freedom. What I wish you too. My name is Amber. It is very difficult for me to trust people because from the very childhood, my closest ones betrayed me. Look, my life was nearly ruined, and now I'm trying to recover. Until the age of 7, I had the usual happy childhood. Mom, dad, and a year younger sister, Beth. We lived outside the city and spent all of our times indoors. But the fact that they loved Beth more than I really messed things up. They never asked how I was, did not regret if I fell off the bike and broke my knee, did not hug or kiss me. But as soon as Beth whimpered, both dad and mom immediately began to worry. As I grew up, their indifference towards me also grew. I even thought that maybe I was adopted. That's why they treat me like that. And when it was time for me to go to school, something terrible happened. I'll tell you everything in a minute. But for now, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell. Thank you. So the summer was coming to an end. Once returning from a walk, near the house I saw an old car. And when I entered the house, I froze. 2 of my suitcases were collected in the corridor. An unfamiliar woman was sitting in the kitchen. I didn't like her right away. And when my mother saw me, she saw that today I was going to a boarding school. I will live and study there. I realized that they want to get rid of me forever. I started crying and asking my mother not to do this, but no one heard me. Miss Morton was the name of the woman who came to pick me up. She was a boarding school teacher and an old friend of her mother. Grabbing my hand, she pulled me into the car. I spent the next 5 years in a boarding school. There were very strict rules here. Everything was scheduled by the hour, and it was necessary to unconditionally adhere to the regime. Otherwise, punishment. I adapted to the school rules. But still, she didn't trust anyone. She was on her own. One afternoon, I heard terrible screams in the hallway of the school and saw Miss Morton wringing the hands of a strange girl. Miss Morton, please! I can talk to her and explain to her how to behave. I approached them. The teacher nodded at me. I never rebelled, so I earned some trust in school. She left, and I carefully looked at the girls. I won't live here. This must be hell. My parents decided to punish me for bad behavior, but it's terrible. You'd better calm down. Let's go, I whispered. I was able to calm down Susie, that was the name of the girl, and they put her in my room. We suddenly became friends. She said that she was from a very rich family, and her parents always spoiled her. But recently she got in touch with a bad company, started to conflict with mom and dad, left home. Therefore, she was assigned here. So strange. It turns out that Susie was placed here because her parents love her a lot and they are afraid of losing her. And me, because no one needs me in this world. I told Susie my story, and we sobbed together for a long time. Her parents arrived 2 months later. They turned out to be very nice people, especially her mother. Amber, Susie told us your story. We want to take you into our family, if you don't mind. You will become a sister to Susie and a daughter to us. I was so happy. At the age of 13, I finally felt so much love and concern. My happiness was not overshadowed even by the news that, it turns out, my biological parents wrote a rejection of me a long time ago. Susie and I started going to an elite school, and she introduced me to everyone as her sister, so another 4 years flew by. I have a boyfriend, Kevin now. He was the son of friends of my new parents, and we met at a dinner party. We were good together. For the winter holidays, he invited me to spend the weekend by the ocean. Kevin booked a luxurious hotel room on the beach. Such beauty was simply breathtaking. We planned to go snorkeling. Kevin encouraged me to go diving. We laughed, argued, hugged each other, waiting at the reception of the administrator. "How can I help you, young people?" Suddenly came from behind, and goosebumps ran down my back. It was my biological mother. "Hello," as if nothing had happened, she said. I was furious. "How? Where?" Pulling a surprised Kevin into a corner, I whispered, "We need to find another hotel. I don't like it here." But Kevin was nodding his head. There are very few hotels on the island and there were no rooms available when he booked. "Okay. I won't let her spoil my holiday, but I won't talk to her either." We settled in the room. The view from the window was magnificent. The weather is fantastic, but I was actually very nervous. After lunch at the hotel restaurant, we went for a swim in the ocean. Kevin rented a yacht. We went on board and settled down on the upper deck. Everything was perfect. "Welcome aboard, young people." And I was shocked again. As a child, this voice often scolded and scolded me for even the smallest misconduct. It was my biological father. He stood and squinted from the sun on the deck of the yacht. Well, that was too much. "What's going on here? This is not a random meeting, Kevin. Did you do that?" I didn't want to admit it, but there were no other explanations. "Amber, give them a chance to explain themselves, please. They regret what they did to you." "I don't believe a single word they say, Kevin. And now I don't believe you either. How could you?" Suddenly, my father stepped towards me. "Kevin, thank you for helping us. Now I'm on my own. We need to talk to Amber, alone." But seeing the panic on my face, Kevin protested. Father did not tolerate when someone began to argue with him. Without thinking twice, he jumped up to Kevin and pushed him hard. A minute later, the guy disappeared under the water. "Don't worry, daughter. We're close to the coast. He will get out. Mommy and I need your help." I didn't even have time to blink my eyes when suddenly my father grabbed my waist with one hand and covered my mouth with another. In the palm of his hand was some kind of cloth or a handkerchief. I took a deep breath, wanted to scream, but instead everything swam before my eyes. I woke up in the hospital. I was in the room. Hands and feet were tied. My biological mother stood next to me and smiled contentedly. "Hi, darling. You've come to your senses. Great. Everything is ready for the operation. The nurse will be here soon. What have you done to me?" I barely whispered. "So far, nothing, but you will become a donor for our Beth. You are the older sister, so you should always help the younger one." I hoped this was a terrible dream. I couldn't move. A terrible weakness, and there was a crazy woman standing nearby who wanted to use me for some of her diabolical purposes. "You abandoned me. Threw it out like a kitten on the street, do you remember? Leave me alone! Help!" I understood that I needed to attract the attention of the staff in order to stop this switch. But suddenly something sharp pierced my hand, and I lost my mind. I don't know how long I was so unconscious, but as if through thick glass I heard Kevin's voice. "Amber! Amber, wake up!" I opened my eyes. An operating room, some instruments. To my left, a girl was lying on the operating table. She seemed to be sleeping. An alarmed Kevin leaned over me. "Are you okay?" With difficulty, I nodded in response. I'll get you out of here. The police have already surrounded the building. Your biological parents cannot escape. I nodded back and drifted off to sleep. A week has passed since that day. I am at home, under the supervision of doctors. I come to my senses. Kevin and Susie never leave my side. Parents, I'm talking about Susie's mom and dad, also constantly ask how I am. And I'm fine because I'm surrounded by people who love me. The story of my insane biological parents who kidnapped me made the news. They are in custody and an investigation is underway. As it turned out, my mother had suffered from schizophrenia for a long time, and recently her condition worsened. She kept Beth, my little sister, locked up under total control, giving her constant sedatives. Due to stress and medication, Beth became ill. Her kidneys began to fail. And my mother decided that I would become a donor for her beloved Beth. He and my dad found out where I lived, put me under surveillance, and got Kevin to help them. Of course, they explained to him that they just wanted to talk to me and ask for forgiveness for abandoning me. And they themselves began to implement their crazy plan. There, on the yacht, when Kevin found himself in the water, he was lucky. The rescuers noticed a man in the water and pulled him out. He did not find the yacht, but he was able to find me using the application on his phone. The beacon indicated that I was in the local hospital. Kevin didn't hesitate. He called the police, let Susie's parents know, and risked everything to sneak into the hospital to save me. And he did it! They did not manage to do any harm to me, although Beth, under anesthesia, was already waiting for my kidney in the operating room. Now I constantly replay this story in my head. I'm lucky to have loving people around me who will always come to help and never betray. It remains only to learn to trust them, which is very, very difficult for me. But I will try. I hope you liked my story. Thanks for watching to the end. For this, you have a prize. Write in the comments what name would you like to give the heroine in the next story. I will wait.